for that. Okay, all committee members are seated. Okay. I'd like to bring this committee back in session. Would you all please rise for a moment for the Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Closing session minutes.
I recommend that minutes pertaining to NEA certified staff negotiation update remain sealed until such time as an agreement has been reached.
Some of them has changed, though.
I have the updated one.
That one. There's been a motion and a second to recommend the minutes remain sealed until such time. I'm sorry. It was Catherine and then Donna.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we're gonna, okay, those in favor to remain to see the minutes will remain sealed. Yes, yes. Everybody in favor? Okay. Okay, you're abstaining? Okay, Mr. Luzon's abstaining. Thank you very much.
The second one
Yes,
does not need to be sealed
okay.
because we do have to seal it till they vote tonight.
Okay,
Never mind.
number two.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I recommend that minutes pertaining to the matter of security memorandum of understanding between the Charahoe Regional School District and Charahoe NEA certified staff remain sealed until such time as an agreement has been reached.
Yes?
No.
No. That was the one about the
I'm sorry.
MOA with the,
I have it.
It's not a
Okay.
matter of security, it's a matter of,
So I recommend, it's for the memorandum of agreement between the Charahoe Regional School District and NEA Charahoe certified staff change Article 12B of the collective bargaining agreement.
Okay.
pertaining to memorandum of understanding.
okay. Thank you. So we still have,
Catherine and I second.
okay, there's been a motion and a second. Those in favor? And that's unanimous. No, wait a minute, you're abstaining too? Okay.
I recommend that minutes pertaining to NEA ESP contract negotiations, update ratification of contract remain sealed until such time as an agreement has been reached.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second that the minutes pertaining to NEA ESP contract negotiation, update ratification of contract remain sealed until such a time an agreement has been reached. Those in favor? And we have abstain. Okay, thank you.
I recommend that minutes relating to the privacy of students and their records, approval of home instruction requests remain sealed.
So moved.
I second.
There's been a motion
hell?
and a second
Just like
to that the minutes relating to the privacy of students, their records remain sealed. Those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
I recommend that minutes pertaining to litigation legal update remain sealed.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second that the minutes pertaining to litigation legal update remain sealed. Those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you so much. Ms. Giusti.
Executive session votes. The first vote were executive session minutes, November 15th, 2022, legal update RGB, approved by Chambers, Giusti, Hopkins, Lagore, Luzon, Lyle, McQuaid, Phelps, and Reynolds, with Champlin, Colasante, and Pouliot abstaining. Next vote were executive session minutes, November 15th, 2022, MOU between Charahoe and Richmond, approved by Chambers, Giusti, Hopkins, Lagore, Luzon, Lyle, McQuaid, and Reynolds, with Champlin, Colasante, Phelps, and Pouliot abstaining. The next executive session minutes, November 15th, 2022, letter from Hall, Law, and Associates, approved by Chambers, Giusti, Lagore, Luzon, McQuaid, and Reynolds, with Champlin, Colasante, Hopkins, Phelps, and Pouliot abstaining. The next were home instruction requests of this evening, all approving: Chambers, Champlin, Colasante, Giusti, Hopkins, Lagore, Luzon, Lyle, McQuaid, Phelps, Pouliot, and Reynolds. And finally, returning to open session, all approving: Chambers, Champlin, Colasante, Giusti, Hopkins, Lagore, Luzon, Lyle, McQuaid, Phelps, Pouliot, and Reynolds.
Thank you, Ms. Giusti. Thank you. Okay. so we have a change. in the
Yes, so
schedule.
unfortunately, the performance of our Cherry Hill Vocal Select is going to be postponed due to illness. So we hope to see them at our next meeting. But we will go with recognition. So please join me in congratulating the following. Ryan Denacor, high school girls soccer, was named the Wesley Sun Athlete of the Week for the week ending November 5th, 2022. Congratulations to Ryan. We will also hold out all state singers from the chorus because they will be singing and then getting their recognition when they come in January. Our next recognition is Finley Callahan. High school girls volleyball was named the Wesley Sun Athlete of the Week for the week ending November 12th, 2022. We have postseason awards. High school girls volleyball, Alexis Cole, Division II Player of the Year, first team All Division II, second team All State, All Tournament Division II. Katya Nelson, first team All Division II, third team All State. Jules White, first team All Division II State Tournament MVP. Emma Kokab, third team Division II. Finley Callahan, third team All Division II, All Tournament Division II, and Coach Kathy McGeehan, Division II Coach of the Year. Okay, high school girls soccer Division I Team Sportsmanship Award, Ryan Denacor, All Region First Team All State. Emily Brown, First Team All Division I. Tessa Azanaro, Second Team All Division I. Reed Dos Santos, Second Team All Division I. Caitlin Russo, Alice Sullivan Perseverance Award. Brooke Kenazat, All Academic. Joy Babineau, All Tournament Division I. And Rachel Abbott, All Tournament Division I.
Yay.
We also have high school girls cross country. Erin Von Husen, All Southern Division, All Class B, third team All State.
Yay.
And Maria Macalation, Academic All State, Lydia Tabor Coaches Award. High school boys soccer, Ethan Knowles, All Division II team, first team Division II, All Tournament team. Ian Clark, first team Division II. Chris Nozolik, second team Division II. Canyon Chrome, second team Division II. Drew Donacor, All Academic 3.34 GPA, All Tournament MVP. Cody Pawlowski, All Tournament team. And Brandon Knowles, All Tournament team. We also have high school football. Connor Perrin, first team All Division 3A, All Academic. Caleb Maggs, first team All Division 3A, All Academic. Nathan Winthrop, first team All Division 3A. Colin Fitz, first team All Division 3A, All Academic. And the Providence Gridiron Back of the Year. James Azanaro, first team All Division 3A. Dan O'Horo, first team All Division 3A, All Academic. Miles Price, second team All Division 3A. Norman Stanley, second team All Division 3A. Lucas Cora, second team All Division 3A. Max Marshall, second team All Division 3A. Ryan Taylor, third team All Division 3A. And Isaac Haig, third team All Division 3A and All Academic. And our last recognition is our high school girls tennis. Emily Ballard, first team Division II. Faith Oren and Sarah Johnson, first team Division II doubles. The record was 15-0. Congratulations. Megan Ballard, second team Division II. Caitlin Daniels and Lily Jackson, second team Division II doubles. And Allison Cole and Olivia Marchon, second team Division II doubles. Okay, next, we have the reorganization of the committee, election of chair and vice chair and subcommittee vacancies. The school committee chairperson will be a Hopkinton representative. The vice chair will come from Richmond. Subcommittee vacancies are noted in red, and changes can be made to other subcommittees as well. Each vacancy will need to be voted on separately.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Luzon.
at this moment, I nominate Catherine Juicy to be the chair of the school committee.
I second that nomination.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Ms. Juicy, do you accept that nomination? Okay, thank you very much. Do we do it one at a time or is there
You could do it all. You could ask.
an?
for
Okay,
roll
yeah,
call.
is there any other nominations at this time? Okay, well, there's been any discussion? There's been a motion and a second to elect Ms. Juicy as, she's a great choice, not that she's from Hopkinton, but also because she's been vice chair and a great, support for me and chair. And I want to thank you all for allowing me the 2 years to serve as chair. Enjoyed it immensely. I look forward to serving on the committee for another term and working with all of you. in the next couple of years. So we're going to take the vote now. Those in favor of Ms. Juicy being chair? And that's unanimous. Good. And get your gavel.
And thank you, Linda. Thank you, Linda.
Oh,
Thank you.
Catherine, we're switching. This is it, girl.
Switching spots. Apologize, I wasn't prepared for that.
Take your name.
I was packing up.
A little nervous, everybody. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little nerve-wracking. Sure. So I would like to thank Linda Lyle for being an incredible chair during some contentious times. You led this committee with grace and compassion and intelligence, and I'm so thankful that the voters of Charlestown saw fit to elect you to continue serving with us. So thank you very much.
I second that.
It's time for a nomination of the vice chair, who should be a member from Richmond.
I nominate Gary Legori to be vice chair.
Second.
Any discussions?
Do you want to ask me if I'm willing?
Are you willing to
No.
accept? Yes. All those in favor? That's great. Congratulations. Very good. Gary, did you vote for yourself?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yep. Want me to do it? So at this point now, that the committee has been reorganized, we have some subcommittees to fill. This is an opportunity for members of the school committee to serve on subcommittees where a lot of the important work happens in this district. We try to, as you can see from the packet that you have, we try to split it up so that each town is represented. I don't think that's a necessity, but you can see where there's a vacancy. We're looking for volunteers to fill those vacancies. So I think we'll start one at a time and vote on each one.
And I would also share that if anyone is feeling particularly passionate, but
Yes.
there isn't a vacancy, by all means
Yes.
share.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And
Right, 'cause we can
typically
switch
there's an
off.
openness
Mhm.
from the other members.
Absolutely.
Could I just add one thing?
Of course.
I assume John told you folks at your previous meeting, but these do count towards hours as far as the community, whatever service towards being on a school committee, so
Good to know.
don't hesitate, volunteer.
So the first is the audit subcommittee. There is a vacancy. Does anybody have an appetite to join the audit subcommittee? Tyler?
Seems appropriate.
I
Right, so-
nominate Tyler Chapman to
Second.
serve.
Champion.
Champlin, sorry, to serve on the audit subcommittee.
And who was the second?
I think I did.
Fantastic. Any discussion? All right, we'll vote on that. And that was unanimous.
Tyler, you're not voting?
Oh.
Abstain?
Yeah, I'm not going to vote for myself.
You're not abstaining?
So you're abstaining?
Okay.
I will abstain.
Thank you.
Gary, are you still comfortable with your inclusion on that committee?
Yes.
All right, so the district strategic planning liaisons currently are myself and Andrew. Does anybody else have a desire to join that subcommittee?
What does that involve, Catherine?
So we're not quite sure yet.
Actually, Andrew's first
Get
meeting
on
is
that
tomorrow.
committee. That's a good
He's-
person.
I mean, Thursday, he's joining us at the RISE for the state regulation that requires district strategic planning to be part of that legislation that passed when the principals took more control, school committees lost some control.
Okay.
So that is a piece of that work. So it has to come before the entire committee anyway. This is just to have some liaisons for school committee voice to be at the sessions. But the meetings have all been down in Providence at the RIDE building.
Okay, we'll let that one stand. ESP Evaluation Review Committee. So currently we have Donna Chambers from Charlestown. Is there anyone who would like to join that committee?
That's a committee that's by their contract. We have.
Good. All right, Finance Committee. So currently serving, we have Linda Lyle in Charlestown, Karen Reynolds in Richmond, and there's a vacancy for Hopkinton. If somebody would like to, really, is this just the one meeting
That's one
before?
meeting.
This
Yeah.
is the meeting before the omnibus.
Right.
Just one.
There we go.
Nominate Tyler Champlin to the Finance Committee.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, take that to a vote. All those in favor? Tyler abstaining? Food Service Subcontract, or Food Service Contract Subcommittee. Currently, Craig and I serve on that. I don't know if anybody wants to join that one. That's not a large time commitment either.
And it's tough having a quorum with just two people.
Hmm.
It'd be nice to have that third body. Hint, hint,
Yes.
hint.
Anybody?
I'll do that.
Okay. So I'd like to nominate Catherine Colasante from Richmond for the Food Service Contract Subcommittee.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor? Catherine, were you in favor?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Health and Wellness Subcommittee, currently Linda Lyle and Gary Legori. Linda, you're willing to stay?
I'd like to stay. Yeah.
All right, is there anybody else who'd like to join that subcommittee?
We meet 4 times a year, discuss the health and wellness. And we have,
All right. NEA Certified Staff Negotiation Subcommittee. This has a fair amount of vacancies. So Linda Lyle is the chair. There's a vacancy from Richmond, Hopkinton, and Gary is the alternate. So is there anyone from Richmond or Hopkinton who are willing to serve? Okay. So I nominate Pat Pulio from Richmond.
I second it.
Any discussion? We'll take it to a vote. All those in favor? Okay, thank you.
Catherine?
Yes.
Do we need a Hopkinton rep on that one?
I don't think it's a necessity.
Because I'd be willing to do that as well if we want to represent all 3 towns on that committee.
I'm gonna, if you're willing to serve,
Yeah.
we're not gonna say no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to appoint Tyler Champlin to the NEA Certified Staff Negotiation Subcommittee.
Second.
Any discussion? Move that to a vote. All those in favor? Everyone except for Tyler abstaining? All right, so NEA ESP Negotiation Subcommittee. Will-
It is, yeah.
It is. Do you want to table? Do you
Just
wanna-
if there's an, you may want to just have it in case you have to do an MOA.
I'll move from alternate to.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So make a motion that Karen Reynolds moves from alternate to the Richmond representative on
Second.
the NEA ESP Negotiation Subcommittee.
Who seconded that?
Both of them.
All those in favor? It's unanimous, thank you. So now we have Policy Subcommittee.
That was a new,
That is a
Yeah.
new one.
that was a
I would
new
like
one.
to,
Mhm.
would like to do that.
So can you explain a little bit your thinking behind the Policy Subcommittee? Linda?
That was Linda had asked.
So I thought that because we have so many questions when a policy comes before us, and I thought it might be helpful for a small working group from this committee to actually review the policies and then vet them before they come to this committee for votes. So we have a little bit of input and even either amending them or even writing new policies. So I don't think we approved having I think we were going to wait. I think we would probably need a vote to create the subcommittee.
I thought we did.
And then, what?
I thought we did.
I thought we
I
tabled
think
it.
we
We
were gonna
tabled it,
take
yeah.
it to the vote of the new committee.
Of the new
Right.
committee,
All
yes.
right.
And then if we decide as a group that we want to have the policy subcommittee, then we can have the members who are interested in serving on that committee.
I make a motion to form a policy subcommittee.
Second.
Okay, so this is open for discussion now.
I'll just add, I think it was a good idea, Linda. I also think it's an opportunity for us to look at old or existing policies.
Well,
that
Andrew, I
perhaps-
gotta, not to interrupt you, but can we do that now in this point, or does that need to be an agenda item to create that policy subcommittee?
No, but I think it's on the agenda to do.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
I just, before we went too far.
Understood.
Andrew,
And,
start again, please.
Yep, so just again, I thank Linda for having the idea of having a policy subcommittee in addition to what Superintendent Picard identified. I also think this is an opportunity for us to look at existing policy that perhaps doesn't come up as frequently. And so just keeping a line of sight on the variety of policies that the district operates under. So I think there's a lot of value to the formation of this subcommittee.
Is there a second?
There was.
Yeah.
I believe so.
And let me just say, I agree. I think that it comes up often enough. I think anytime a policy needs to be reviewed, maybe with some small modification, but also some big changes also. So thank you for suggesting this. Yeah.
So I would like to vote on the motion to form it. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Now we can fill it. So do we have any volunteers? Okay. So I'd like to nominate Catherine Colasante from Richmond to serve. Second. Okay. Those in favor?
Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Donna Chambers.
Second. Okay. Those in favor of Donna?
Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Linda Lyle to the committee.
Second it. Who's in favor of Linda?
The more the merrier.
Yeah, not to go without representation.
Yeah.
I'd like to nominate Polly Hopkins. Represent Hopkins.
I second that.
I'm sorry, say again.
I second nominating Polly Hopkins.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Oh, did you vote? I'm sorry.
Yes, I
Thank
did
you.
for myself.
Thank you. Which is horrible.
Make me
That's
feel
fine.
better.
I just want to make sure I report it correctly.
Is that 5, Donna? 5 or 4?
One,
Oh,
I've got 4.
okay.
Anybody else?
So I am a bit of a glutton for punishment, but I also often call Gina in advance of policies and ask a lot of questions.
Are you
And
nominating
also,
yourself?
so if the committee will indulge me, I would like to
Madam
serve.
Chair, Madam Chair. I'm gonna go slow though. I nominate Andrew.
I second it.
Fantastic. Any discussion? We'll vote on that. Andrew, inclusion? Okay, that's also unanimous.
That makes 5.
Mhm. So there is a school committee liaison to the special education, LAC.
Local
Andrew,
Advisory Council.
thank you. Andrew, are you still comfortable serving?
Yes.
Does anybody else would like to serve with Andrew? Okay,
Okay.
sure.
So I'll make a motion to appoint Polly Hopkins to the school committee liaison to special education, LAC.
Second.
Those in favor? That's unanimous. Am I going too fast? No. School committee, facilities subcommittee. So I am serving, Craig is serving. I'm comfortable to continue to serve. Is there a member from Richmond to round it out who might like to serve? Craig, you're on a roll. You want to nominate Pat?
Hold on, I gotta pronounce it right. Thank you. Madam Chair, I nominate Patricia Pouliot to fill that role.
I second it.
Those in favor? Pat, are you abstaining? All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay. Threat Assessment Oversight Committee. So we do need a representative from the school committee. Can you? Linda Lyle?
I'd like to nominate myself, only because Bill Day and I have been kind of the most active with
Yeah.
regards
Yeah.
to school
I
and school
second that.
safety. And we don't, Mr. Day was our representative on that committee, so I'd like to serve in his shoes, if that's okay.
And I second her nomination.
Just in terms of discussion, I have had the opportunity to meet with the superintendent, committee member Bill Day and Linda in the past few months to have some conversations about school district safety, and I've been deeply impressed with Linda's commitment to school safety, and I think we're all well served to have her in this space.
And to clarify, this committee is actually legislated and it's also part of our policies. So it's required. That's why you'll see other individuals on this except for school committee. So this is a larger.
Take that to a vote. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Quick question. When it's legislated, does it dictate the size, the number of?
It tells you
people?
the members that are required to be on it.
Does it require a community representative?
I'll go back to double check personally. I know it says the police chief, for example, the chief is noted on it. He's not listed here because it's noted in the legislation, but these are the district members.
So I'm going to pick up what Craig is putting down. I'd like to make a
But
motion.
they are confidential.
Yep.
So that's why it would have, it comes with specific requirements. I just don't have it with me right now.
So I make a motion to appoint Bill Day, who is and what's his official title, Gina?
He's an assistant EMA director.
Thank
I
you.
second that.
Assistant EMA Director to the Threat Assessment Oversight Committee.
I
And he
will
would-
second that only if Mr. Day is willing to take it.
I think
And he would fit the criteria as emergency first responder.
Yep, and Catherine had already, she beat you to the punch. But thank you.
And I'm comfortable with that being reflected in my motion.
Those in favor? That's unanimous. Transportation Subcommittee.
Come on, folks.
Mr. Phelps? Yes, so
Make
I'd
a
like,
motion to appoint Larry Phelps to the vacancy on the Transportation Subcommittee.
Second.
all those in favor?
Hopkinton, right?
Hopkinton, yep. Those in favor? It's unanimous. There's a representative from Richmond.
Make a motion to appoint Patricia Pouliot to the to the Transportation Subcommittee, Richmond.
Second.
All those in favor? It's also unanimous. So now we've reached school safety teams. And just to set the expectation for this particular subcommittee, this is where school committee members are invited to participate, to watch drills that are happening at the school. I'm going to be removing myself from the middle school because I find that my schedule does not allow me to attend them with the schedule that I should. So I'm really doing a disservice and not fulfilling the role. So I'll be removing myself from the middle school. But to set that expectation, we're going to ask that you commit to going to 5 of these drills. So we want an evacuation drill. We would like a lockdown drill, and then at least 1 fire drill, and then 2 more. Certainly you can do more than just the 5, but certainly the expectation is at least 5. And that way you have a clearer picture of what you should be looking for when you're attending these drills. And it's really to help inform the superintendent and her team on things that could be tightened up a little bit.
Madam
So it's
Chair,
advisory, yes.
and it's also prior to the pandemic. I know it's been different since the pandemic, but we used to sit in on the safety plan presentation for that facility.
Correct.
And then we had to sign off on it. too,
You
so.
still do. It was via Zoom the last couple of
Right.
years.
So this one is a little bit bigger of a commitment. Just know that before you volunteer. And certainly this is another one where if you have the time to volunteer for more than one school and can meet those 5 requirements, that would be appreciated too. Gary?
Catherine, given the scheduling conflict you expressed, how far out in advance are these planned? Because if they're planned at the beginning of the school year, that would be really helpful for me
Yeah, the schools
personally.
have an overall sense of when they happen, but typically they verify them month to month because sometimes things come up, like a testing schedule may come up, so they have to shift. So usually they notify you within at least, I ask the principals 2 weeks prior to the drill.
And then, Gina, can you also clarify the number of total drills that
Right.
will occur so that you have a sense of,
Right.
I think it's 15,
The
correct?
state requires 15. We actually do more because our EOP requires shelter in place to be done, where the state does not require that as part of the law. So overall, there's about 16.
So you're
But
not per
that's the
school.
minimum.
Yeah,
That's the
that's-
minimum. The principals can do more.
And that's per school.
That's
And
per
so
school,
it's,
okay.
yeah, it's per
Per
school.
school.
And so it's not like, okay, if you miss one, you're only going to have 2 other shots to
Right.
get to.
Yeah. The main
Um,
campus does try to coordinate, not necessarily fire drills, but lockdown drills and evacuations. I think of it like the campus situation at a college. You would coordinate those efforts if there was a larger concern.
So I guess I just want to follow up on that. The expectation is for these people to be at how many of the roughly 15?
With at least one being a lockdown,
One of each of them.
one being a shelter in place, I believe. Is that correct?
Evacuation
Evacuation.
and a fire drill.
And a fire drill. And then 2 of the mix.
By law, lockdowns have to be completed in September and then one in January. There may be a non-drill, so you would not be invited to that because it means it's real if we're doing one and we weren't invited. But typically, and it's they're required one, fire drills are once a month, every 4th obstructed, and evacuations are required 2 per year.
I'm willing to do either replace you at the middle school or do Richmond Elementary.
Which is,
You pick.
Someone can nominate.
I make a motion to appoint Gary Ligori to the middle school school safety team.
second,
Sorry, Sharon.
All those in favor? It's unanimous. Craig, are you comfortable at the high school still?
yeah, it's just tough trying to, well, I'm retiring relatively soon. If my grandson.
So you
come
can do
with
all
me-
of these then, Craig, if you're retiring.
If my grandson can come with me, I will be glad to do more.
He can go with you.
I make a motion to let the grandson go.
Yeah.
It's up to my wife.
Linda, are you still comfortable with the CTC? Okay. So there's a vacancy at the Cala building. Is there a volunteer?
I'll do the Keller building.
I nominate Donna Chambers to serve as a school safety team observer for the Cala building.
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Did you have a comment?
Donna?
I was scared. Donna, did you have a question?
No.
No?
I think I just voted for myself, but I don't know what that was. No, that's fine. I would like I would like a notice of tentative dates at the beginning of the year so I could work with my calendar on that.
Director Tato is standing right over there, and I'm sure he heard you.
Okay, all right. It's good, it's good. We'll talk.
There's a vacancy at Ashaway School.
Ashway School?
I can do that.
I make a motion to appoint Polly Hopkins to the Ashway School school safety team.
Second,
All those in favor? Holly, are you abstaining? No, in favor.
No, she voted.
No, it's okay. I
gave
missed
you the
it.
vote.
Thank you. All right, there's also a vacancy at Hope Valley.
I make a
Mr.
motion
Phelps.
to appoint Larry Phelps to the Hope Valley school safety team.
second,
All those in favor? It's unanimous. And finally, a vacancy at Richmond. I make a motion for Pat.
I make a motion to appoint Patricia Pouliot to the Richmond school safety team.
second,
All those in favor? It's unanimous. Great, thank you. And finally, the School Improvement Team Selection Committee. So there's a vacancy at the middle school and at Ashaway School.
So typically, the ask is around March, the principals put out applications for parents and teachers, and they go through a process of applying. Everyone is voted in by their peers. That final selection is reviewed by this selection committee to ensure the policy is followed, as is the law. And then the principals then move forward and finalize the selection, which then comes to the school committee overall for every team. It's not a large ask.
I'd be interested in middle school.
Middle school?
Make a motion to appoint Catherine Calasante to the middle school improvement team.
Second.
Selection Committee.
I'm sorry, School Improvement Team Selection.
That's a
Committee.
larger ask.
Yes.
Still second.
All those in favor? That's unanimous. For Ashaway School?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to put Holly Hopkins in there.
Second.
Holly Hopkins.
Second.
Polly Hawkins.
All those in favor? Great, unanimous. Excellent, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, that's good.
Good job.
Donna, you're gonna send a list, right? 'Cause we have no idea.
Yeah.
She did, and then she said-
Andrew nominated me for something, is all I know.
So now we've reached public forum, which is an opportunity for members of the public to speak about things that are not on our agenda. If you'd like to come forward, we welcome you to. I'd ask that you state your name and the town that you live in, and try to keep your comments to about 3 minutes.
My name is Christopher Fee. I'm from Charlestown. Parents United Rhode Island stands against transgender kids, opposes the teaching of racism history, and fought against COVID-19 precautions and medical advice. It was formed with the intent of infiltrating local school boards and town councils to degrade public schools and promote charter schools under the guise of parental rights. Parents United RI has been associated with supremacist groups. I'll just leave it at that. The Koch Foundation has funded many of these so-called spontaneous parental uprisings across the country. There are two new members of our council took this pledge. I hereby pledge to fully support complete transparency and parental rights when it comes to the health and education of children. I pledge to oppose all efforts to teach our K-12 students any divisive race-based or gender-based theory and any inappropriate and explicit sexual content. So I have some questions for the folks who are in that boat. How far will your parental opposition go? Will you forbid the teaching of slavery or the civil rights movement or the history of hate crimes against minorities in this country? Do you have enough knowledge of child development to know which books are grade level appropriate, or do you just want to eliminate anything that offends you? Do you have any intention of actually working with school board members who you disagree with, or will you resign when you don't get your way? You seem to think you know everything about educating kids because you made one. Not all of us are cut out to be teachers, and none of us should be allowed to commandeer a school district's policies just because they manage to reproduce. Having a pulse and an axe to grind doesn't qualify you to make decisions about other people's kids. Both Republicans and Democrats want what's best for their children. Our once excellent school system has been shanghaied by people who continue to insist they're the only ones who practice a religion properly or have a moral compass. If rational adults from both parties don't unite to stop our local authoritarian threat, this district will likely disintegrate into the bad old days when we had double sessions and Charahoe schools were the laughingstock of Rhode Island. People of goodwill from both parties don't need to wear childish, insulting t-shirts, but we do need to show up at these meetings and let the members of the Koch-funded Parents United Rhode Island and their friends know we're paying attention regardless of our party affiliation. Please contact your legislators and let them know you're not happy what might happen to Charahoe in a short while. Merry Christmas. God loves all the people you hate.
My name is Helen Sheen, and I'm from Richmond. I support Parents United.
Excuse
I'm a-
me,
Yes,
you need to sign in for public forum, please. Next time it should be done before, it's right over on the, okay? Mhm. It'll be right over on where the signs are, where on the table. Where the signs are. Yep, okay, thank you.
So there are many of us who have been concerned about some of the books that are in the school system and some of the things that are being taught to the children. We do not blame the teachers. So I support the whole school, all of us looking at what is being taught in the books in the school. Yes, we should be teaching about slavery. Of course we should. But we really need to protect our children from being exposed to sexual things they shouldn't even be thinking about in elementary school. Thank you.
Anybody else from public forum?
You do.
Should be doing it before the meeting. That's what the committee voted on.
Yep, so for clarification, there will always be a sign-in sheet for public forum. So I apologize, this is a little bit of my hiccup here for not enforcing this or letting you know at the beginning of public forum. But you should sign in so that we can put you on the record for your comments. Yes, and that's a policy that was voted on previously.
Hi, my name is Michael Colasanti, Richmond resident. In terms of Parents United, I did sign that pledge myself. And I spoke here, I think it was 2 summers ago. And we're talking about racism. And I mentioned that I went to St. Louis University. And there was a gentleman who was my roommate. And my parents went out the door 5 minutes. And he said to me, point blank, I don't like Easterners. Then 3 weeks later, my 2 suite mates were 2 black men. One of the friendly of the 2, I'd ask him, you want to go to the cafeteria eat? No. Want to go to the rec center bowl? No. So the 3rd time I asked him, look, if you don't like me, I'm not going to ask you, all right, to go do something anymore. And he goes, Mike, you seem like a nice guy. But he goes, let me give you a story. There was a black girl that befriended some white girls who would go eat in the cafeteria. And they made life so miserable for her, she didn't come back to school this year. She should have been a junior with me. So he says, Mike, I can't be friends with you because you're white. So it's a 2-way street. I was in St. Louis. All right, I saw it every single day. And you know something? It didn't taint my attitude towards black people, towards Southerners, because I was taught to put things in perspective. And in terms of Parents United, Donna, you were on a Zoom, and I was given historical data, and you did nothing but stop giving me the looking at the cloud eyes.
I don't know
I
what
stated,
you're talking about.
you can look at the Zoom meeting. You're on Zoom. I stated historically that black people sold black people into slavery. White people brought them here. Okay, let's go right back to where it started. Okay, there's still slavery in Africa. Whatever tribe beats the heck out of the other one, they become their slaves. Let's not be ignorant to that. Then when they came here, 350,000 Union soldiers lost their lives to free the slaves. Under a Republican, Lincoln. The Emancipation Proclamation, the 13th Amendment.
Are you giving me a
No,
history
no.
lesson?
I'm going to ask you to just finish your comments. Thank
Right.
you.
So, you know, Parents United, there's a lot more backbone to it than the gentleman that spoke very, he thinks eloquently, right in the very beginning. Okay, because to me, it's ignorance on his part in many aspects of what he said. Okay, and if he wants to debate me, I would love to debate him. All right in front of the school committee. He can bring his historical data, and I'll bring my historical data. Thank you.
Anybody else for public forum? Okay, thank you. On to business.
So first up, we have is our NEA ESP contract ratification. I am recommending approval of the NEA ESP contract for the 2023 to 2025 year.
So move.
Second. Yes.
Madam Chair, I have a family member that is part of the ESP, NEA ESP. John, do I have permission? Am I legally capable of voting? Thank you very much, sir.
Want to give it an overview? Or you just want to vote? Nope. I'll move it to the vote. Those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
I would like to thank President Calderon, Dave Kennedy for their work on the subcommittee, along with Diane Devereaux, Diane McKean, and Danielle Sanchio. It was a long road, but we appreciate the efforts in the last few months to bring this to fruition, as well as the school committee's support of our education support professionals. We couldn't do the work that we do without you, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next we have the Rhode Island Comprehensive Assessment System. It's the Rycast results, also known as. Dr. Camella is going to provide the overview of the results. Once he's completed the presentation, the floor will be open for school committee to ask any questions that they may have. The dashboard for the Department of Education for any school district in all our schools is listed on the RIDE website. It's public information. So this opportunity is a chance for you to see the big picture overview of what the spring results look like. We do have to wait until they were released, which they were a few weeks ago.
I just have to get connected.
Yeah, I'm just going to move out of the way.
I can usually see if they
You can see?
Yeah, it's
Just
bigger.
a little.
Okay.
Trust me.
And I am going to pass out, as I was going through last night, on like a couple of number differences that spotted, so I wanted to make sure everybody got.
They don't get up unless you call them. Can I take one? Sorry. Of course. They have the lights on. Technology, your best friend and your worst nightmare, all in the same.
This one's interesting. We have a lot of kids taking it.
If the technology doesn't resolve itself, then I think there is value in Dr. Caminella being able to project. May I suggest that we table B while we address the technology? And I think that there are some low-hanging fruit on our agenda that we might be able to keep moving.
I agree.
Does that be official, Donna, the table?
Yep, table. So we make a motion to table, right?
So I'd like, yes,
Go ahead.
make a motion to table Rhode Island Comprehensive Assessment System Rycast results until such time as the technology.
Second.
Those in favor? That's unanimous.
Okay.
Okay.
So that brings us to the middle school course proposals. I'm going to ask that you please vote on each one separately, so I'm going to do one at a time. So science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, also known as STEM, for computer science, robotics, grades 7 and 8 elective. As many of you know, computer science offers several opportunities for our students to work with mathematical models, simulations, and the foundations of engineering. As you would have noticed in the proposal, there are specific standards aligned to this elective. Robotics combines electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and computer science. Engineering is used to design the physical aspects of the robot, and the computer science is used to design software that gives intelligence to the machine to do its task. This makes robotics a multidisciplinary branch of engineering and computer science. The materials utilized in this elective are funded through a Community 2000 grant, and I recommend approval of the computer science robotics course.
So move.
Second.
Questions?
So you just noted that, one of my questions was gonna be how are we funding this? Through a Community 2000 grant. And real
For the
quick, I
kids,
just want to say, Chris Phillips, God rest his soul, a great guy, I've known him for a long time. But this is a one-year investment?
So we have opportunities that are just full right now. It's an elective that students like. So the computer science aspect, so robotics brings us along that continuum to offer more opportunities in STEM. Susie Scanapiaco is our STEM specialist, so she can sort of give you the trajectory if you want like
Well,
more
yeah,
specific in the weeds.
Twofold, like, this is gonna be something we continuously offer, correct? It's not gonna be just a one-year thing. And beyond this grant from Community 2000 for this year funding it, this will become a regular, normal class that we're gonna fund through.
An elective, that's
Yeah.
the
So-
goal.
I share those sentiments again of Chris Phillips. I feel very proud that we can say his name a couple times tonight and in bringing our school to a better place. And he brought a set of robots to the high school last year through a similar grant. And then he wanted to see this momentum go vertically to our middle school, and then his plan was to then bring it to the elementary school as well. So we have an elective at the high school that offers intro level computing with robotics to bring in a new interest to students who might not have considered it in the past. We have a lot of out-of-district kids, so we don't automatically assume what skills they're coming into us with at 9th grade. For the middle school, we also are offering that as an elective with a little bit of a different spin in the sense that we worked for the past 7 years or so to bring computer science from kindergarten through. And now we have students who actually have an affection for it. They're really into it. They're really eager to do the next level of coding, not just the base level. So this is actually geared towards the students who want to do a little bit more and have the capacity and the perseverance to do that extra bit with the robot in front of them. The robots are intended to be used year after year. They have a shelf life, if you will. So we expect them to be taken apart and rebuilt over and over again.
And actually, there's an MOA on later in the agenda that will also provide funding for these opportunities.
Thank you. You answered my question.
I believe Tyler brought up the issue of cost, and I didn't hear that addressed.
Community 2000 is funding the kits that we utilize for this class. elective.
Right, and yet that would be for the first year, right?
They're
So
reusable.
subsequent
They're
years-
reusable.
They're
robots.
reusable kits. So
Okay,
they,
I got it.
Similar to a Lego, but not Lego.
That the middle school could fund over time, like replacement parts, right?
Mhm.
Any other questions?
No.
Good. Great. Move this to a vote. All those in favor?
Good job, Susan.
Great, thank you.
thank you. You may want to take just in case. So the next one is also the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It's grade 8 gaming. As I noted for the previous course that was discussed, computer science has real-life mathematical and science implications. Computer science is a field that has numerous career opportunities once students graduate from high school. Oh, hold on my page. The course provides students with the opportunity to build on their knowledge of technology, math, and science. They will use coding, which is the language that is used to design gaming systems and playable media experiences. Students learn how to create game-specific algorithms and systems.
Second.
I recommend for approval for this course.
Questions?
just a comment, I also really appreciate that this provides sort of a pathway for students who may not otherwise consider a computer science, but through the sort of pathway of gaming, may engage them differently. So I think this is an exciting addition to our array of STEM courses.
And there was deliberate use of gaming, because coding, sometimes kids are like, what? The gaming sort of intrigues them quickly, so it catches their attention, and we all speak middle school sometimes.
Yeah, I appreciate the thoughtful.
Any other questions? All right, move this to a vote. All those in favor? And that's also unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so item D is the memorandum of agreement between the Charahoe Regional School District and NEA Charahoe certified staff pertaining to Article 12B of the collective bargaining agreement, graduation portfolio presentations. The current contract language states that educators shall be scheduled for set assessments by December 1st of each school year, as students may not be ready to present on their assigned dates. This agreement allows educators to sign up the week prior to the presentation date to ensure a more accurate understanding of student readiness. I recommend approval of the memorandum of agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, questions, comments? Nope. Move that to a vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Our next item is Say Something Anonymous Reporting System. Somebody's on there. We can't- Who's looking at the? No. Be careful with-
That is not my.
It's picking up someone out there.
Definitely a Bruins fan.
I'll continue. Say Something Anonymous Reporting System. This reporting system has been in effect for approximately 3 years, and there is no charge for the district to utilize this system. The Sandy Hook Promise is a national nonprofit organization funded and led by several family members whose loved ones were killed at the Sandy Hook Elementary School on December 14th, 2012. This system is reviewed with students and advisory to report any threats of school violence or any other concerns that they may have. Our Richmond Police Chief, Elwood Johnson, has been and continues to be a strong proponent of this reporting system. He actually discusses it across the state when he goes to his meetings. Students are utilizing the opportunity to anonymously report any concerns they may have as it relates to school safety. As you will notice, there was a delay in placing this in front of you as I asked legal counsel to review the MOA, as I was not here when the initial agreement was signed. Due to changes our legal counsel recommended, it took some time for the legal team at Sandy Hook Promise to agree to the requested changes, which focus on protecting the district as it relates to any liability concerns. I recommend approval of this MOU effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025, which has been reviewed by legal counsel at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, questions?
Catherine?
Jeannie, you said it's been in place for 3 years?
For about 3 years, I believe. I have
So-
some members who have been here. I know Mary Beth, you were in charge of where I came here. You were the overseer. Or 2018? Maybe, yeah. This could be the 4th year of its existence.
So then the school committee already voted on approving it since it's been in place for 3 years?
It expired the last MOA, so it was a
So we're-
3-year MOA. So we're asking for the renewal.
reapproving it.
Yes.
I understand. And I noticed on this that there's a component of Save Promise Clubs.
Say it again.
I noticed there's a component in it under program sustainability that participating schools established Save Promise Clubs.
Right now, we don't have any of the clubs. We're
Okay.
using specifically for the TIP system,
Okay.
and it's reviewed through advisory. But there is opportunity if anyone is interested. We just haven't
I
had
would
it.
just make a motion that if we were to change the way it is now, where it's just being used as a reporting system, and that if we were to entertain.
All
having-
clubs have to come through school committee. That's already policy.
Okay, great. All right.
How is this being funded?
It's free. There's no charge.
No charge?
No.
No donations or anything?
No.
Okay.
It-
I got a thing saying you got they're asking for donations. They
No,
got-
we don't provide any funding for the Sandy
Okay.
Hook Promise.
They got 90, I think 61 employees at this thing. So how are they getting,
It's a nonprofit, so they go
Oh.
through, they do go through donations. We just don't provide any. It's free for school districts because it was based
Uh-huh.
on the families from the Sandy Hook
uh,
school shooting.
it's more, to me, it seems like it's a backdoor to politicalize the school system a little bit.
But I would
The
say
tip
if they
line
were-
has, I can tell you the
mean,
number of
and
tips we
they-
received are typically self-harm, students who are concerned for friends who are, we've had over 40 tips this year. And we've had, even if we save one student, this has allowed us, and I'm happy to bring Chief Johnson in, and he can explain some more, but this has been, in some cases, life-saving for our students, to let us know about a friend that they're concerned about.
They made statements saying that the predominantly white males are the ones who do all the shootings. I did some research. There's less white males doing mass
So
shootings than.
getting a little off
Hold on.
topic here. Yeah. So I just, as a reminder, this is the first meeting for many of us, certainly with me in charge. So we need to keep this strictly on having this in our schools. So just, it's a narrow agenda item. Do you have another question?
No, I'm comfortable with it, with
I have-
what you told me about the club.
Holly?
So I guess Gina had answered what I was asking. What's the amount of impact that this makes? And I did have some concerns reading through this website. There was no mention of local police, which if Chief Johnson is working and recommending this, I found it odd that they don't mention working with the local police district.
So what happens is the tips, our students provide the tips, it's on our website, it's also, they also have an app. That tip comes through depending on the level of the tip. So if it's a crime in the community, that goes directly to the police. It gets dispatched. A wellness check, so when a student reports that they're afraid that either themselves or another student will commit suicide or self-harm, that gets reported to all the school teams, the principals, myself, and dispatched to 911. So that then there's a wellness check done. Any threats of school violence, so examples would be if a student has that his child has a gun and wants to bring a gun to school. Those are kinds of tips that are reported. Bullying, so it's that saying, see something, say something. So this is an opportunity for students to anonymously report and give us a heads up about something they think may cause a safety concern in the school.
So for the way I was reading it, and I really love to speak to Chief Johnson about this, and I almost called him up, to be honest with you. It looks as though there's an app on the phone. They report through the app, and then Sandy Hook Promise is the one that they filter that information. If it's an emergency, they dial 911. If they deem it, irrelevant, they report to you and they tell you, these have been reported. And I was just concerned because Chief Johnson knows this community, knows the people. And I would rather those reports be going through his office, not to burden him with more work, but he knows these families, knows the community members, whereas people on the other end of this app don't know this community,
So
don't know
I
the
want to
family.
recommend that
So-
you think about our students. They're not
Yeah.
necessarily going to call the police or go directly to
Yeah.
an adult. What we want them to, and we asked that we work really hard to make sure that there's adult-student relationships built so that students feel safe, but not everyone does. So with that means that we're going to find hopefully an incident, and we have, but there has definitely been tips resolved and things mitigated because we were informed ahead of time from a student who did not at that time feel comfortable telling us who they were, about a friend that they felt could be unsafe in our community, in our schools, with their friends, hurt themselves. The number one reason for them to use this app for this year has been concern for themselves committing suicide or a friend. Over 25 of them have been, those are 25 out of our 40.
And correct me if I'm wrong, nothing in this, using this precludes them from reporting it to the police themselves.
No,
So
it's
they
actually,
could
they're part of the
do
teams, they
both.
get that.
Right.
So the chief will tell you that dispatch gets that, they get the same follow-up. And the SRO is on the list of reporting for the special teams at the high school as well.
I have a question. Is there a reason why we're going to a third-party vendor instead of amplifying up the Charahoe Bully program that you already have in-house?
This is part of the bullying program, so that's an anonymous tip line. It provides a venue for free that the district wouldn't have to purchase. We could look into purchasing software that would do the same thing, but this allows us to do that without cost to the district.
I just, in particular, just this particular organization is because they are very active in lobbying in anti-gun legislation, that it is a political issue, that we would best be served to keep politics out of the school.
we don't politicize the standing requirements. Our responsibility to our students is to provide them a tip line so that they can report a concern of safety.
And that's how this is being used, correct?
That's exactly how it's being
This
used.
isn't an advocacy piece.
Respectfully,
Mm-hmm.
respectfully, if that is what members of this committee would like, the appropriate time to do that would be through our budgeting cycle, and you would introduce funding to essentially replace the existing system. What I would ask our members not to do is to have a gap between this system theoretically going offline and a new system going online, because that is a real risk to student safety. So if it is the prerogative of some members of this committee that they would like to see a separate system that is divorced of this organization, bring that to the budget cycle, and let's invest in having a local version. I'm not necessarily opposed actually to having a local version if it is in fact viable. What I would not recommend and what I would discourage every member of this committee is having a gap and putting personal concerns in front of student safety. So I would respectfully ask that this committee pass this at this point in time. If we have an issue, we can address it through the budgeting process.
I noticed that Richmond has a code red system, and maybe we could discuss with Chief Johnson just options to build on that in the future.
Like I said, Chief Johnson, actually, we spoke today. I always let him know when I'm going to mention him in public. I think it's just a courtesy. And he said, please let them know I'm a strong proponent. This is something that he backs 100%, and I'm sure he would be happy to discuss it with you.
Tyler, did you have a comment?
I had a question. It kind of goes back to the whole localized issue, right? Gina, when these tips come into the I'm looking at the flow chart here, right? When they come into the crisis center, can you speak to how they're vetted and triaged to get into these buckets?
So
Who's doing that? It's obviously not somebody local.
and actually, that's a
correct?
lot of why the MOA is more detailed, based on the legal counsel's review of sort of this liability of how, what if somebody makes a mistake kind of thing. So oftentimes, the tip line, if it's, I want to report that a student is being mean to another student, and I saw it in the hallway, that goes to the school team. That's the principal, the assistant principal, and
Does
then
it have to go to that crisis center first?
that's where the tip goes. Yes, it goes to the tip line.
And they decide of what bucket it goes into.
Yep, there's a menu drop down, and actually the student puts in the cause for concern. There's like a drop down menu, and then so it's the administrators, SRO at the high school, myself, Dr. Kamala, Special Ed Director Jen Durkin, Mary Markovitz, the admin team, and those calls can come in midnight, 1:30. If we don't get, so it's a text, it's an email. If we don't respond quickly, we all get the phone call and it goes right up the phone tree. Like sometimes I'll pop in, I get the phone call, they let me know that there was a life alert that they've already dispatched to the local police department. We also verify the principals, and they're here. Greg Zenian is here, as is Mary Beth Florence, who've done a lot with Say Something. We also coordinate and we verify, hey, we heard you got the dispatch call. Was a wellness check done? We just do that for our confirmation, and we take our notes. Yes, we were. Police went out to the scene to verify that the student was safe, et cetera, et cetera. The last decision tree talks about like that special team. Let's say it had nothing to do with school safety and it was a community issue. That if it was a crime, it goes to the police. If it was about an adult or a staff member, it comes directly just to me because it's obviously personnel, confidential. So that's typically, but usually the students will, could be under anger, depression, suicide, school safety, school violence, fighting. I heard my friend wants to jump somebody tomorrow, and here's the name. But they do come a little bit more in the September when they do the advisory for the students. I think sometimes they see if we'll be reactive to it. I've gotten phone calls in the middle of the market on Saturday morning, midnight phone calls. They're jarring, but Ms. Florence and I spent a few hours trying to figure out a student safety issue that ended up saving a student's life. I mean, the student was in complete trauma, had nowhere to go, did not want to say who they were, and we sort of deduced based on the information that they presented and called the police.
Thank you.
Ready to move this to a vote? Who's in favor? And those who are opposed? So I think we have our technology piece moving, so we're going to jump back in our agenda to the Rycast scores.
Okay, thanks everybody for your patience. I assure you that was totally planned. Thanks, Eric, for helping resolve it. I think Ms. Bradini set me up. All right, thank you, everybody. So I'm happy here to report out on our Rycast results. And one of the things I wanted to clarify about when we talk about Rycast, it's the Rhode Island Comprehensive Assessment System. So at the November meeting, Assistant Principal Bradini reported out on the AP, SAT, and PSAT data. That is part of Rycast. Tonight, I'm going to report out on English Language Arts, which is ELA, and math for grades 3 to 8. That is part of the Rycast system. And in January, we're going to report out on the science assessment, which is also part of Rycast. So RIDE's looking to kind of rebrand what Rycast is. It's kind of been known for this set of assessment, but it's really a more comprehensive assessment of tonight, which I'm providing a piece of. So tonight's really just a high-level overview. So we'll be looking at key takeaways, looking at historical data, what we're doing as a district to respond to the data, and then your questions. So back in 2021, the commissioner said that the 2021 data would be a new baseline for state assessment. We know that COVID has had an impact. And because of that, we expect a recovery to take about 3 to 5 years.
Can you repeat that, please?
About the recovery?
Yes.
I'm sorry. The state's expecting for us to get back in terms of scores to take about 3 to 5 years.
Okay, I just wanted you to repeat it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And, yeah, Michael, thank you. And also you say 3 to 5 years of accelerated learning strategies. Are
Yeah.
they recommending very specific accelerated learning strategies for us to implement?
Yeah, accelerated learning strategies really start with providing like strong instruction in the classroom, and then targeting student needs. So one of the things I'll talk about is like what we're doing at the very low grades in terms of providing a strategic assessment system for students in the K1 and 2 to really target reading skills, for example. So that's what we mean by accelerated learning. It's not really like providing remedial support, right? So we wouldn't be like pulling kids, giving them like below grade level instruction to try to get them caught up. What that really does.
Increased tutoring services.
Yeah,
an example that
increasing
we've been
tutoring
doing.
services. What that really does is increase the gap.
Actually, the high schools are going to be coming forward, I think, around January with an updated credit recovery proposal, because with ESSER funds, we're able to do proactive credit recovery with those funds. So it's things like that. So instead of waiting till the quarter end, you can do it, so unit by unit.
And then on the next slide really provides an overview for the district. So Charahoe and Rhode Island saw less of a drop in ELA than Massachusetts, and a similar increase in math. I'll talk about why we talk about Massachusetts a little bit later in the presentation. Charahoe had one of the highest participation rates in the state. We've had a very high participation rate last year, and so we were able to even increase it even more. So we went from about a 97, 98% to 99, over 99 in both math and ELA. We saw an overall increase of 11.9 in math and a decrease of 4.9 in ELA. And that kind of went along with Rhode Island and Massachusetts as well, where we saw high increases in mathematics, but we did see a slight dip in ELA. And the reason we saw the dip in ELA was across the board was in our writing scores. So we know that we have some work to do, and that's part of our action plan moving forward.
And it was actually something that the principals reviewed over the summer and worked with teachers to be able to begin that process, because they get access to student level data individually in the summer, and then the overall comes later.
Tom? Yeah. Also, Michael, I hate to interrupt this, but it's important for me to know, and I probably should know, is the Rycast exactly the same test as the MCAS?
Yes.
Okay.
So yes. And so, for example, if you go on the RIDE website and look for some Rycast resources, they actually take you to the MCAS site.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same
Yeah.
test. It's not, okay, and the second thing, and I'm not stealing your thunder, but bravo to us to outscore Massachusetts. That's always been a bar we've been aiming for.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay,
We have
thank you.
our school leaders are here tonight
I know.
yeah.
That's
in case there's any
And work
questions.
very hard,
Yeah.
along with all their teacher teams. It's a group, a team effort.
And so, speaking of our schools, I just wanted to take a moment to highlight some of the gains that our schools achieved. So Hope Valley, for example, more than doubled the number of students meeting or exceeding in mathematics from 27 to 53. Richmond increased 12 points in mathematics. Charlestown increased 11 points in math. Our middle school saw an increase of 12 points. And one highlight in ELA was at Ashaway, we saw our grade 4 students increase by 15 in writing, which we know is an area of focus for us. So shout out and kudos to those schools and those teachers for doing that job. So the Rycast, this is, again, a very broad overview of the data. So just to kind of set the stage for what you'll see in the next few slides, we did put that red bar to kind of show pre and post-COVID data, keeping in mind that the commissioner has said that our 2021 data is setting that new baseline. So, but it was important, I think, historically to see where we were and where we need to get back to. I think that's important to recognize. So what we do see in Rycast in our ELA, this is where we did see a dip in our scores. And again, just noticing that, prior to COVID, obviously we were trending in a positive. We did see a dip in 21, but we did see, even though we saw another dip in 22, there was a bit of leveling, right? So it wasn't as steep of a dip. In last year, we implemented a new ELA curriculum resource in both or K to 12. So typically in that new implementation also, there's some, a lot of professional development, a lot of professional learning that goes into that with the teachers. And it aligns with our science of reading proficiency training, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Mathematics, this is where we did see, as I mentioned, our gains. So, we're trending back to those pre-COVID numbers, which is a really good sign. This next slide is really the grade level data. And so one of the things I want to highlight about the grade level data, so on the left, again, we do have the bar that separates pre and post-COVID. The numbers on the right are our grade levels. And you'll notice that our stronger grades are really in the grades 3 and 4 at our elementary schools. But we did see our middle school that had the smallest rates of change. So when we look at, we know that ELA dipped in district, but our middle school didn't dip as much. In terms of rates, comparably across the state. And, yes.
Can I ask a quick question? Ed?
Sure.
So when I'm looking at this, right, from 18, 19, 21, 22, I can look at 2018, or I can look at 2022, and I can see 38% of the 8th graders were meeting or exceeding in math, right?
Yeah.
If I go back to 2021 and I look at the 7th graders, that's the same cohort of students.
It's the same
correct?
cohort, yes.
So this is comparable data year over year.
You can look at it like that,
Okay.
right? You can compare the cohort data. Yeah.
Thank you.
So same thing in math. Once again, we do see at grades 3 and 4 some of our stronger data across the district. But at the middle school level, in grade 6, we saw a 23-point gain, and in grade 8, we saw a 16-point increase as well. So we're seeing those strides happen across the district. One of the things it's always a shout out to our teachers. They're the ones doing the work every day, providing that instruction. They were also involved with a new curriculum. I wouldn't say it's a new curriculum resource. It's a resource that we've had in district, but it was one of our first years that we implemented it with Fidelity. So we saw, we had a lot of professional development. We continued that this year as well in supporting our teachers. The next slide is going back to English language arts. And this is our school by school basis. So here you can see that Ashaway continues to show strong ELA data. Hope Valley actually statistically maintained their numbers, so they kind of avoided the dip that we saw statewide and didn't lose any ground, which was good to see. The next slide in mathematics, the same. We see Ashaway and Charlestown kind of leading the way in terms of our math data. And then again, as we discussed earlier, that big jump that we saw with Hope Valley, more than doubling the number of students that met meeting and exceeding. The next slide is that comparison that I was talking about with Rhode Island and Massachusetts. So you can see the numbers across the board. One of the reasons why we talk about Massachusetts, to Ms. Chambers' point, we do take the same test. Also, historically, Massachusetts has been a high-performing state. And not only a
Around the
high-performing
country,
state,
yeah.
right, around the country, they've globally, if they were their own country, they would typically fall in the top 10 in the world. So I think it's an important benchmark for us to set and to meet. And you can see in terms of Rycast, we had the same percentage of students who were at meeting and exceeding. And in mathematics, in fact, our numbers were better than the state. And in fact, we were 2 percentage points better than Massachusetts. The next 3 slides are really about the work moving forward, what we're doing as a district to take action to address the data. So as I mentioned earlier around our ELA resources, all of our K-5 teachers, our reading specialists, our special educators are participating in science of reading proficiency training. This is to meet a state mandate that came out about 2 years ago, but we've moved forward with it, and I think in 2 years we'll have almost all of our teachers, other than any new hires, trained around science of proficiency. It's a shift in how we provide reading instruction, but it aligns with the resources that we've brought in, and we've made significant shifts around how we assess our students, the level of data that we're getting back, the detail of the data. And as I mentioned, bringing in new assessments, especially around K and 1 students, to target and to address any gaps that we see early. As I mentioned also earlier, now that we know writing is a focus, it's there, so we're going to address it as a district. Our schools are really well purposed to do this. They've introduced something called a win block, what is needed. It's kind of like an intervention block. It's a way to support students. Could be in ELA, it could be in math, as the middle school is doing, but it's a way to really target those gaps that we're identifying in students and provide them some more opportunities. Oh, yep. Lynn?
Real quick question on the writing instruction. Is it part of the reading program, kind of, or is it a separate program?
No, great question. So it's part of the writing program, and you can't talk about writing without talking about reading and language, right? They're all together. And in fact, when Rycast assesses, they actually assess writing within language and reading. So you kind of get like an overall bigger picture. But as we know that as reading increases, as we do a better job with reading, we'll see writing. And as we increase writing, that'll also have an impact on reading. And then we continue to have our ELA math ELA fellow. This year we have a math fellow at the elementary level and at the middle school to also provide embedded coaching, working one-on-one with our teachers. Last year we started learning walks. We continue, and we'll be starting up learning walks again in our schools. And those are basically visiting classrooms, observing instruction, and providing general feedback in terms of what we're seeing, in terms of our alignment to the curriculum and our resources as well. Continue to have data chats with our school leaders. And the importance behind that is to make sure that we're looking at the data on a regular basis, knowing where students are, knowing how they're, where the need is in terms of support. We continue to have our monthly meetings with our school leaders with a focus on instructional leadership. I talked a lot about the multiple sources of data that we've brought in as a district. So we're continuing to do that both at the school and the district level. And then, again, continuing with the implementation of our resources. We're in year 2 of our ELA resources and year 2 with our K-8 math and year 1 with our high school math implementation. So, and anytime you have an implementation early, we try to provide as much support as possible for our teachers. That's in terms of coaching, in terms of lesson planning, whatever is needed at that time for them. And then, as the superintendent pointed out earlier, just an increasing in tutoring opportunities. So, for example, Richmond Elementary, Hope Valley, both have tutoring programs now taking place. I had the opportunity to be at Richmond a few weeks ago. It's really a great program that Principal Martin has put in place and has had in place for a couple of years now. So it's an opportunity for students that's where you would probably give some more of that remedial support, so that it's outside of the day, it's not part of instruction, you're not taking away from students at that time. I think that's it. So I'm here for questions. Our school leaders are also here if you have any questions as well.
Yes.
A few things. One, really needs to be shouted from the rooftops that we are meeting and exceeding comparisons with Massachusetts. That is something that we should be exceptionally proud of and is unquestionably reflective of the quality of education that our educators provide each and every single day. I do see and really do appreciate that we have a number of district leaders who are present and would request that you share that message with all of our educators. That is something that we should be proud of. I also just want to compliment Jen Poor. I'm a member of the Charlestown School Improvement Team, and she had us looking at Rycast data at our last school improvement team.
Well, every time I went into my data sheet, Jen was in the data sheet as well.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Also, you prevented me from asking a regular question of mine, which is discussing how the data is used at a very practical level at a building level. So thank you for addressing that. So there's just a few questions. One, not in this moment, but I think there would be value in us also being able to see how this data, if you are able to drill down, how this data is also reflective of BIPOC students as well as students with disabilities. And making sure that we understand where do they fall in terms of their academic experience relative to the data that we saw. And again, I don't expect you to address this in this moment, but if that could be a follow-up.
Sure.
I think I've got sort of two questions. Are there any areas of concern or focus that weren't addressed in this presentation that you think that the school committee should have a line of sight on? You've kind of given us a lot of data to look at, but so first part is, are there areas of concern or focus that you think it's important for us to have a line of sight on? But then I think second and more importantly, what do you need? You know, our part of our role is, yes, to hold the district accountable, but another part of our role is to support you in being able to do this work. And so I think I would like to better understand how it is that this school committee can support the administration and the district to advance this work. As you said, it's going to take, RIDE has indicated 3 to 5 years of intensive strategies. And so, you know, I think us having a good line of sight in terms of the things that we should be promoting as a school committee to advance that work would be helpful. So areas of concerns, things that we can do to support this work.
Yeah, I think, and you mentioned two of them. You know, first of all, like our achievement level of our students with IEPs. You know, that they continue not to meet, you know, the same level of achievement as our other students who don't. So that's one area. It always stands out, I think, historically.
Yes.
And so that's, you know, and always an area that we're focused on. I would say that, you know, we are really shifting our focus in our response to intervention, which several students with IEPs are also involved in. So they get additional supports from math specialists and reading specialists. And our schools have done a really great job in shifting that focus, working closely with our special education department. For example, last Wednesday, our reading specialists and special educated resource teachers got together for an afternoon around an article to support like how they can better serve those students and work collaboratively. Because now that we do have like a plethora of data, what we have to be careful of is like, what is the data that we're really looking at that really tells us the story of that student? And then how we got to make sure that we're not duplicating services, because now we're wasting everybody's time as we do that. And so I have to, you know, credit our reading specialists and our special educators for meeting and collaborating. And this started last year because we saw that need especially. I don't know, in terms of support, I think I can also invite up our school leaders to talk more about that. I know that, you know, we continue, you know, to add, you know, in terms of looking for different ways in terms of, you know, assessments, making sure that we have those in place. You know, it comes back to maybe, you know, dollars or something like that. I think, you know, right now we're always looking for opportunities to like, you know, if we need to bring in something, or, you know, do we feel like we have what we need in place? It's ongoing as we kind of shift our practice.
We've been very lucky with ESSER funding and being able to utilize that for our core instruction as that's, and typically, I think I've said it before, federal funding isn't allowed to supplant. ESSER funding was because evidence-based research showed that core instruction had the biggest yield of investment overall in return on investment when it came to students. So we knew that was going to be a high priority. We all know it's subsetting within a year, but I think, and I won't speak for the administrators in the room, but I think I have a good sense that what they'll probably tell you, just like Mike and I would, is that to continue on the path to success, it's really thinking about that return on investment. So when we look at the budget and we think about what we're expending, I'm hoping I will show you where that money is invested in. And no surprise, it's invested in the majority of salaries because our teachers are our largest investment. And then there would be our support professionals. These are the individuals that touch our students every day to make sure that they're getting what they need. So a value in that work is definitely what you showed tonight with the ESP contract, and hopefully that we'll do the same as we move forward with the NEA certified. Thinking about that, it's the tools, making sure they have access to the tools and resources to do the good work that the students need. Special education, as you mentioned, Andrew, we have that data. We've been talking through it as our principals. They're in it. I mean, the minute I'm in a meeting, they're already calling me like, okay, so did you see this? And they're thinking about it. They're 10 steps ahead of most districts in the state. They're always really thoughtful about what their teachers need, how to balance the boiler when, pots bubble. It's stressful. The jobs are not easy. Teachers are asked to do a multitude of things that weren't required 30, 40 years ago. So the investment of that balance, that's a balanced beam of effort that our admins walk every single day. So I think I would say the support around helping us think through the budget so we ensure that success and those resources are delineated and that return on investment shows within our data. I think you saw the increases because we had a concerted effort. And by doing that, it allows us to really provide students what they need and to enhance programming like we're doing across science, technology, educational, mathematics, writing. We always say if you increase math scores, you're going to increase reading and writing. It all goes hand in hand. And we have wonderful students who are amazing and have a lot to offer. Our middle school had their students at their school improvement team, as does the high school, involved in looking at their data, giving us their voice. Those opportunities, enhancing student voice is something I hope we'll also think about as well.
Yeah, first of all, Gina, I love your comparisons, boilers and bubbles and this and that. But and can you remind us when ESSA funds disappear?
September, ESSA 3, September 2024.
Thank you very much.
Yes, regarding increasing the tutoring opportunities for the student, you mentioned that takes place outside of the normal school day, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, is there an opportunity for there to be some flexibility to also increase the tutoring opportunity where it's most needed during the school year? During the school day.
Yeah, a good question. So what the schools have done this year is actually build time into their schedule, and it's one of our action steps. It's called a win block. What is needed, and so that's an opportunity for the specialists and the special educators to collaborate and to focus on like those individual student needs. So that kind of takes place during the day,
Okay.
and then there's the tutoring opportunities after school.
Great, so they have that
They do.
opportunity during the school day and
Yes.
after. All right, great.
Andrew asked my question about the special ed population and the BIPOC population. I'd like to congratulate the administrators and the teachers for putting in all of the work that I know that goes into these scores. And as we look at data points, I look at kids. And congratulations to all the kids who worked so hard to make these tests so successful. Because it's a lot of work. It's a long, many days, changes to schedules, but a lot of effort on the kids' part. So congratulations to them too. Andrew?
The Rycast ride timeline was subject to, let's say, conversation this year. So if someone could sort of walk me through the timeline, and do you have suggestions in terms of how RIDE might reconsider that timeline to better serve our district leaders? And to the extent that you may have suggestions, I may recommend that we as a school committee memorialize those recommendations as a communication from the school committee to RIDE. So just wanted to be transparent about why I'm asking the question, but then sort of bring it to both of you in terms of concerns or challenges related to RIDE's Rycast timeline.
It's also an opportunity. I'd also like to bring it back to our administrators. We're actually meeting next week to talk it through with RIDE, our data in general, questions that we have. So I would love their input, but basically just high level off the top of my head, the goal of going to a system like Rycast and having digital assessments was to be able to get data in the hands of teachers quickly. Optimally, we'd get that data over the summer. We'd have it ready to, as schools open, and prior to school opening, we'd be ready to rock. We get bits and pieces and a little bit here and there, but not enough where we really can drill down the way we can drill down. And unfortunately, it came out the week before the election or right before the election. That's too late. Do we have assessments that give us better data? Yes, our iReady mathematics was in the 1% of the data that it told us how our kids were going to perform. So our curricular resources are showing us exactly what Rycast is saying, which is great because there's an alignment there. And we were skeptical. The admin said to me, I don't know, I'm a little concerned. I don't know. Like it's this balance when you bring in a new resource, but we're definitely seeing that alignment. The science of reading training has enhanced, but with the timeline, ultimately we would want that prior to the start of school. That would be our ultimate goal and ask. And I see the head shaking, so I think we're probably on the same page.
And typically Massachusetts gets it much earlier than we do. Yes.
And usually what Ride is doing, and I don't know if it's a staffing capacity, is they're waiting from Massachusetts. So what Dr. Camilla and I try to do is over the summer with Dorothy, we're trying to find out what the cut scores in Mass, and we're all trying to figure out, along with our administrators, what's the cut score? If Massachusetts says this. So we're playing mathematical games to try to figure it out.
So I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the chair of our school committee to work collaboratively with our superintendent and the assistant superintendent to send a communication to the Rhode Island Department of Education from the Charahoe School Committee that expresses the concerns that you have just articulated, including but not limited to the importance of getting data in the hands of teachers quickly, the importance of getting data over the summer and not waiting until the academic year, that this provides the opportunity for us to drill down and to support quality education, that it coming in the fall is frankly too late, and that Massachusetts has demonstrated a model that we should emulate. So that is my motion.
There truly is a Santa Claus.
Any discussions on the motion?
The fact of the matter is that, so much of the work that we do locally is determined by external factors, RIDE and the General Assembly. So to the extent that we can articulate the concerns that we have and can advocate for what it is that we need to advance quality education, that is the work of the school committee. So I would appreciate your support in this sending this communication.
And I would add, also include the local General Assembly members as well as
That's a
RIDE.
wonderful idea. Polly, that's a wonderful idea. So I will add that to my motion that we CC the local representatives of our General Assembly. Thank you, Polly.
Discussion?
Yes.
Could this be also part of the omnibus agenda?
Yeah, that's not a bad
Yes.
idea.
Because we're gonna have 3 town councils
Yeah,
and
they'll be
hopefully
here.
our
Yeah.
representatives.
We have to, right, so we'd have to tie it into a budget discussion because remember, we super narrowed that focus.
Yeah,
It's just
I
budget.
know, but
Might be able to get creative. Keep them back
it
here.
costs money to print the paper to send them out.
Okay. We'll think about that. Any other further discussion on the amendment? Or on the motion, rather? Those in favor? It's unanimous. Excellent. Tyler, you had a question?
I had one question. So when, in the intervention section, we talk about using new curricular resources and revised curriculum to strengthen our core instruction. I know in the past, we had rolled out I think it was the math curriculum, iMath, right, or iReady.
iReady.
We rolled that out in Ashaway first, right,
Yes.
I believe. And I think science of reading, I know my daughter's benefiting from that in Hope Valley School right now, 100%. I just want to make sure we're rolling out this equally across the district, right? We're not implementing a school here, a school there.
No.
We are going
Yeah, it's been
everywhere with
It's
it,
been
right?
a K-8
Okay.
implementation. Every school, every classroom.
Excellent.
Any further questions?
I just wanted to point out that our leaders work very closely together too. So if something's happening, I believe they do. If something's happening at one school, they're talking about it and they're sharing that information.
Oh, right,
So-
but I know the program, like the math program was rolled
But it's
out.
not just the programs, it's
Right,
techniques.
no, and that's what I just
they're
want to
very
make sure that we're
collaborative.
putting something out somewhere that we're trying to catch up here, right? We're
Yeah.
trying to catch up. It should be going everywhere at once.
So it's
not
a
one school
pilot
at a time.
in one particular
Yeah.
elementary school.
Yeah, no, that's all I was getting at.
Okay.
Well, and part of that was, in response to another legislative mandate
Right.
that all schools had to have high quality instructional materials. And so
Right.
Okay. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, John, I think we're on F, correct?
We are.
Okay, Rhode Island Department of Education Memorandum of Agreement with the Town of Charahoe and the Charahoe Public School Committee. But I don't know, John, it says the Town of Charahoe, we probably have to revise that. Now that I'm looking at the agenda item again. Ryan doesn't necessarily understand how this all works too. We don't. So we'll fix that before we send it through. So it will say the Charahoe Public Regional School District, because that's the entity that this goes through. Yes, I recommend approval of the Rhode Island Department of Education Memorandum of Agreement I will update it because it will not say the Town of Charahoe as it is not a town, with the Charahoe Regional Public School District and for the 21st Century Technology and Furniture Fund, SBA Capital Fund, to provide innovative furniture and equipment that supports science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics in the amount of $395,468. If approved, all members will need to sign the MOA. This MOA is very similar to the arts initiative that we had, where they provide about $100,000 that we were able to implement into our drama, our music, our arts programming. So this is specific to the science, technology, engineering, and mathematical needs to enhance things like we discussed in those two courses that you saw.
Second.
Questions? Yes. So the MOA is that we would agree to purchase the specific things that they're giving us the money for. Is that all
A
the
good
MOA?
example would be the high school, if you recall, had applied for the Champlain grant around an enhancement around their STEM room.
Right.
This would allow us an opportunity to see that grant to fruition without Champlain.
Oh, okay.
As an example, that's a small portion. I think that was about 68,000, maybe about 70,000. Correct. That's one example.
So this is for the Charahoe School District, not just the high school, right?
Correct. And I actually.
So how's this going to impact K through 12?
So what's happening now is we're looking at different things. For example, even budget requests, we're going through them to see what of our budget requests that our principals had relate back to science, technology, engineering, mathematics. We're not looking to do anything different. We're looking to support the initiatives through the use of the funding to be able to continue the work that's really important and going really well.
And could you just give some examples on how you're going to differentiate between furniture and furniture that's going to.
So sometimes it depends. For example, some of the
Innovative.
elementary schools use the library media center as their place to do their makerspace. Some schools want to create a makerspace. So things like that, where I know the high school is looking to redesign their makerspaces. That's part of that work. And that's where you'll see them building the robots and all of the technology and the gaming and the play media that works through.
So if we have some furniture that needs to be replaced in the budget.
If it's aligned to that initiative, because I believe there's about $100,000 that has to go also to the CTC programming.
So that my point is, this does not eliminate furniture in the budget.
No.
Thank you very much.
Some of it. Not all of it.
So it says that it is to support different learning modalities and pedagogies. What is some examples in how we're going to change how we teach?
So the idea is that this provides opportunities for not students just to hear about or visualize, but to actually get their hands and build the robots, build the actual things that come out of this, their planning and their designs. Right now, we have some students in the technology classroom, which we already have, and we've had for years, the computer class, where they're actually learning how to code. So that brings those gamings to life, and it allows us to enhance the opportunities around that work. It won't. I know Calla was looking at some site licenses. It doesn't provide us the funding for site licenses, so anything like that is through our budget. But anytime if we want to create those maker spaces, so for example, sometimes when you walk in a classroom, the traditional classrooms were not designed for maker spaces. It's your desks, it's your chairs, it's your kids. Where if you're building a robot, you need some place to put it. So you need like tables that have shelves, so then the robot can go on the shelf while other students come in to make other robots, because you don't want to dismantle what period 1 did, because period 2 has to come in, there's nowhere to put them. So you need places to sort of organize this equipment, as an example.
So to answer my question, it was basically more hands-on learning.
That's definitely one of the key.
Craig?
One last question, Gina. Who did the legwork to get us this grant?
So actually, the Department of Education submits this to the districts and they fit the criteria. So they actually sort us out.
Wow, thank you.
It's kind of nice, right?
That is
It's like-
very nice.
So I noticed
Sorry, I
that
did
eligible expenses incurred between July 22 and June 2023.
Mhm.
June 2023 is going to be here real quickly. Have we identified a listing, like seriously identified a listing of things that we're going to need? Because when I read incurred between, we have to pay for this stuff.
Yes.
So we got to move relatively quickly on that, right?
Yeah, typically it's a pay-to-go model where they reimburse us the funding. So a great example is, like I said, the middle school Champlain grant that we did not receive, but know its value to the middle school to be able to
Right.
enhance the space. So that's going to take up a chunk. We know Director Orth for the CTE boost is already working with the programs that need the largest enhancement. That money used to come through, and if the committee members that were here, if you recall, the grant allocation funding that Rye would give out, and Director Orth would apply for it to enhance some of his program equipment. We would do that sort of in the spring. They're giving that to us earlier now. So it definitely, we have already been sort of going through their budgets for next year, things that we could do now, so we wouldn't have to wait and be able to provide the opportunities that exist
Okay.
immediately.
I just want to make sure we don't miss that deadline, right?
No, we don't.
Mm.
Trust me, we know how to. Oh, free money. We're not going to miss out on the money when they hand it over.
Any other questions? No, move this to a vote. All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Okay, so the agreement for temporary custodial services with System for Services. While we continue to struggle to find custodians, and hopefully that will start to shift as we put the postings out tomorrow with the new salary, with the new hourly rate. We have one company and that we are using, but we're still struggling to fill the positions. Utilizing this additional company will provide another layer of support as we enter the snowy season as needed. I recommend approval of the agreement for temporary custodial services with System for Services until such time as the custodial vacancies are filled or their services are no longer needed. And Ned's here for any additional questions that you have around this agreement.
Any questions?
So this can be terminated if we get employment?
That's the goal,
Anytime.
fill the position,
Correct.
not need it.
Yep.
And I'm sure Ms. Bevan is very excited to put those postings out tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we want to be prepared for snow season. And, as we have vacancies, we've had to do this over the course of the past year or so. This is one other company that offers these services.
Yeah, and it's not feasible to use custodial services now and offer overtime because you have to give them a certain amount of hours.
Well, we try it with overtime, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's just, there's too many vacancies. We just can't keep up.
And I imagine we did look at other companies, like we got 3 quotes.
We used, initially, we have an agreement with an MPA vendor. That's the master price agreement. We did that months ago, probably almost a year
Almost a
ago.
year ago.
And this price is the same as that price. So if we have equivalent pricing as the MPA, we can go with that because we know we're doing at or better than previously bid items.
That this isn't costing the district anything extra, right? Because we have a ton of vacancies that are
Correct.
open, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Anybody else? Move this to a vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous, thank you.
Okay, the item H is a letter from Hopkinton and notice from Richmond pertaining to the plowing and sanding of elementary school lots. This item was requested by Catherine Giusti, who is now our chair.
Yes. So I wanted this to be on an agenda because I think it caught a lot of us by surprise that all of a sudden the towns that had been providing plowing services for our elementary schools said, nope, no more. And it's far outside of our current budget. So we can discuss it in our next budget season, but it was kind of a potentially big ticket item that we weren't able to budget for because we didn't know it was coming. And I thought it was interesting that the impression that I got from watching the meetings was that there was some sort of feeling that we had all of this equipment and we had all the personnel that we could just go ahead and do this. And that is not at all the case. So I guess I wanted the community members and new committee members to understand that this is going to be a budget item, something that we'll have to pay for in our upcoming budget cycle. And then the snowstorm gave me the opportunity to ask how has it gone? I mean, you guys had to scramble pretty quickly and find a vendor.
So we did. SNS Landscaping bid on it's about $125 an hour per vehicle. Correct? And we just had some standing necessary and some light plowing for the opening for Monday. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, it went well. Fortunately, it was a light event, so it was fairly easy to react to, and so far so good.
But typically, we wouldn't have to pay for that service.
Right.
Correct. And I've spoken to Chief Barber personally and Karen Pinch when we had heard about Richmond, and I talked to Brian Rosso. I went out with Jason Sullivan, our Director of Facilities, and their concern was their lack of staffing and their lack of equipment was what they had expressed to me. So, and I understand it's not a happy time, but that was how they explained the change. Charleston, I did speak with Charleston just in case to see if there's anything on the horizon. And Mark Stanguich said absolutely not. If we were going to do that, we would let you know prior budget season. So they did plow and sand.
Nell, did you have a comment?
Nell Carpenter, Richmond. Congratulations, Chair Tuesday. Best wishes to you and to all of the new members on the school committee. Understanding that the district is operating on a level funded budget where wiggle room and adjustments are nearly impossible, perhaps the district might consider adopting usage fees in response to the unanticipated cost of snow removal from Richmond and Hopkinton elementary schools. The committee might consider such policies that would generate revenue and offset these expenses. Both Richmond and Hopkinton's municipal budgets have passed, whereas you must be exceptionally frugal. Mutual respect and reciprocity are two-way streets. In such dire economic times, and as our district decision makers regarding such policies, here are some examples. Both Richmond and Hopkinton recreation departments and commissions utilize their elementary schools and parking lots for holiday events, sports, and summer camps. The utilization of the Richmond Elementary School parking lot for for-profit food truck entities, and for decades, the town of Richmond has utilized the elementary school for its financial town meetings, which are referendum and not Title 17 elections, which the district is or was required to provide voting locations for. You have accommodated Richmond at every turn and every request. As I stated, mutual respect and reciprocity are two-way streets. When the status quo changes, I ask that the policymakers, you, for the district, be mindful of the beans, and that you consider ways to increase the revenue stream to cover this expense that you've been blindsided with. Thank you for allowing the town of Richmond use of Richmond Elementary School for countless events, custodians, toilet paper, as you just talked about, hand washing equipment, utilities, and resources aren't free, yet you've absorbed them as our partners for decades. I'm going to venture the same for Hopkinton. And that's it. I'd just like you to consider your potential revenue stream here to offset the cost. Thank you.
Craig.
So Gina, 125 per truck? How many trucks? did they
Out of the
use
three
for
schools, so there's at least one per school, usually.
Yeah, it'll depend on the event.
It depends
'cause it's
on
per
the
hour.
size of the event.
Per hour.
Do you have any control over that, or do they have the contract? Do they have the right to determine how many trucks they want to assign and so on and so forth? I mean, I don't know how big the operation is. And my next question is going to be, what do they put down for treatment? Is that included in that cost?
Yeah. So part of
Calcium,
the,
magnesium, or I don't know what you.
part of the agreement is sand and
Okay.
salt. Yeah.
And kudos to the town of Charlestown. Not only are they plowing Charlestown, but with their tax money, they're paying for the other two towns to get plowed. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you very much.
Andrew, and then.
I appreciate that it's a late hour, so I'll echo your concerns that you shared, Madam Chair, at the start. And now, Point well taken. And at the same time, I think ultimately the school committee needs to balance the fact that at the end of the day, this is all taxpayer money. And so while point well taken, I also appreciate that in, increasing usage fees, that again, this is all taxpayer money. And I had a question and it has completely gone from me.
Okay.
So I will pause.
Larry.
Has anybody approached town of Richmond Hopkinton to see if they will help pay for this? Are there snow removal budget that's supposed to be for the school also?
When I asked about payment, I was told that there's not a separate budget for school department plowing or sanding, that the overall budget doesn't necessarily cut that out for them. So
But it's
there's
factored
not.
it's factored in the budget when they do it, because they used to do it.
I understand what you're saying, but there was no offer to provide the service. They explained that they could no longer provide the service, and that would be something that would be
So they
an
should be able to
expense
supplement
incurred
this
on
a
us.
little bit for this service, you would think.
I don't know that that's a question we can answer.
Yeah, that's,
No, they have a budget that was in for the schools too. Now all of a sudden they decide they don't want to do the schools.
yeah, my understanding is
should
that the
be-
snow plowing budget isn't separated by school or town. It's an
Right.
overall budget.
Thank you.
But I understand.
Andrew.
Just as a matter of process, when this first came up, I expressed some concerns at public comment. But during that time, I also expressed concern about the fact that this was on an agenda and nobody from the school district was represented. I don't ever want us to be hypocrites. And so just as a matter of process, and it's okay if we didn't, but were the members of Hopkinton and Richmond Town Councils made aware that this would be an agenda item this evening?
Not for, I had told,
Excuse me, I do send it to the town halls,
yeah.
they post it. They have the agendas. They
there
get
wasn't a
them.
specific email sent to each council member about the agenda.
They do
It
get the
goes, the
agenda.
direct line of communication continued to be the same.
So with all due respect, Donna, posting at the town hall is not the same as a town councilor being informed of a specific agenda item that is relative to the town.
I just want out there that they do get it.
Understood and noted for the record. So I would just ask that as a matter of practice, if we are going to have agenda items that are specific to a community or communities, that we please invite the relevant town councils.
Sure. That's a good
That's
point.
not-
Thank
that's
you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Newly on the town council. I only found out tonight about this. So the council that I'm on now, we didn't approve this. And I was attending town council meetings for about 8 months before the election. And I did not hear this subject come up at the town council meeting. So I'm
My
not exactly
understanding, that's a great point. I asked the same question, was it on an agenda? And it appears it was via email communicated to the town council from the town manager, that there was an email communication. It was not officially brought. And I think their solicitor had said it didn't need to be. I don't know for sure, so I don't want to assume. But when I asked, Hopkinton did have it on an agenda. We had heard from Andrew, actually notified us that night. And Richmond, I don't believe ever placed it on an agenda, is my understanding.
I believe that's true because I've been reading the agendas for 8 months and this is the first I've heard of it. So I don't have the answer, but
No, thank
just so
you.
you know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, thank you for bringing.
Thank you.
Sorry, I missed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
I'm
Tyler.
sorry. I was half asleep, I think.
Is there
Andrew
something-
lulled me to sleep.
I have that effect.
Do we I know, do we collect user fees from the recs that are using our elementary schools?
Would they pay, maybe the custodial fee, but I don't think, usually it's waived. But I think they are required to have custodian. It depends on, I think, the number of time or hours, but typically,
Okay.
it's in kind.
I kind of would want to reiterate what Andrew said as far as it's all, in the end of the day, it's taxpayer money. However, what Nell brought up on the point of for profit, food trucks, I think that's something we could ask the town council to explore. So.
So what I would say, as we get closer to future agenda items, we could think through, if the committee wants a letter, because then either for myself, or you want to draft one and then put it in front of the committee for the next time, that's an opportunity for you to invite the town councils for the conversation at a school committee meeting.
Or budget
Those
workshop.
options.
Okay. Thank you.
Consent agenda?
All set? That's gonna be signed by everybody.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Oh, I'll wait. Let's see who wants.
You want me to
No,
go for it?
Pull.
Yeah, anybody need to pull any agenda? You were in the middle of it, so.
No.
Nope. Anything to be pulled? No? Okay. Oh,
You don't mind, just a little clarification, being brand new. I'm not gonna believe her with asking too many questions, but it's really for informational purposes, not that I would say, that I have a problem with it, more informational purposes.
is this about a bill?
Yeah.
So you have an opportunity, we'll pull that.
Okay.
And then you can ask the question then?
Pull C.
Yes.
Yep.
The bill review?
Yep.
So I can give.
That's it?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to move the remainder, but before I do, I would like to acknowledge the donations. One, a donation of $1,000 from Flood Ford Lincoln in Narragansett, Rhode Island to the Middle School Gingerbread Express. And two, donation from Charahoe Rotary, Frank Hopkins, and Charahoe Interact Club, Advisor Dana Hall, for their little library donation to Richmond Elementary School.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
All those in favor? Yeah, that's unanimous?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think it was C.
C.
Yes, it was.
I make a motion to approve C, the bill review.
You had a question?
I did, yes, a couple of them. So, item number 21840, Curriculum Associates, professional development, with a total of 10.
I'm sorry,
Do you have a
could just
page?
Tell me the
Page.
date and
Vendor
page number?
Okay, the page number, date November 10th.
Yep.
Page number 3 of 8. Page number 3. Okay, and the vendor number 21840.
Got it.
So this is professional development with a total of 10,500. So, could you just please tell me like what this encompasses, like the time period? Is this like professional development for what time period?
Yeah, good question. So it's professional development for our iReady curriculum in mathematics.
iReady,
And it's going
okay.
to take place after the start of the calendar year. So it's more professional development in terms of coaching for our teachers and our principals in terms of leadership coaching around the implementation.
And it's ESSER funding.
It's ESSER funded, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. One other one. So this is December 1st, page 3 of 15, vendor number 04021, Bayada Home Healthcare. I'm just wondering what that is.
That's a
related-
required service for our special education, that's required by law. That's a
Okay.
specific service paid to the company to, for the services for a student.
Okay, special education. Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay, move to vote on the bills. All those in favor? Great, unanimous.
Okay, that brings us to the subcommittee reports. We had Health and Wellness Subcommittee met on December 6, 2022. Enclosed were the approved minutes for the meeting on October 4th. Also, in my superintendent's report, want to discuss the BOX program, the Building Our Kids Success, that's what that stands for. A partnership with Reebok has been a favorite before school program at Richmond Elementary School for several years, consistently engaging students during these fun 6-week sessions. The mission of the BOX program is to make physical activity and play a part of every child's day. Reebok provides free materials and training for the program, which is offered at hundreds of schools across the country. Sessions at Richmond span 6 weeks or 12 classes. They planned, first assembly plan ended just before Thanksgiving. Students have stated that it's truly enjoyable. They love the opportunity. Some said it challenges their minds and their bodies to do something new. The program truly gets our students moving before their school day starts. We also had our food drive throughout the month of November. Students and staff at all 4 elementary schools, Charahoe Alternative Learning Academy and Charahoe Regional Middle School, were busy collecting non-perishable food items for their annual Harvest Food Drive. Charahoe Regional High School's Interact Club organized all of the collections and supported organizations that included the Rhode Island Center Assisting Those in Need, also known as Rycast, and St. Andrew Food Pantry. In total, the Harvest Food Drive brought in over 6,000 food items, and other items will also be used in the holiday baskets that are given directly to our families in the Charahoe School District. The snow day inclement weather virtual plan update. Our plan has been approved by RIDE. It is important to note that RIDE has added the requirements for virtual learning that differ from what students, parents, and families experienced over the last couple of years. As a result, it is more likely than not we will utilize traditional school cancellation days and only utilize virtual learning days if the snowstorms and inclement weather closures go beyond 2 or 3 days. Coming events, we have early release on December 15th, secondary dismissed at 12:45, elementary at 1:55, no AM pre-K, PM attends. 12:16, secondary progress reports are issued for the second quarter. On December 16th, Hope Valley School Holiday Shop. On December 23rd, Hope Valley School PJ Day and Assembly. December 26th through January 2nd is a holiday recess. Students and school year staff are off. December 26th through December 27th is the holiday recess for 12-month staff. December 30th is a half day for 12-month staff. January 2nd is a holiday for 12-month staff and students and staff. January 3rd, Charlestown School PTO meeting with 6 to 7:30. Art room is via Zoom. January 3rd is a school committee budget workshop at 6 p.m. in the high school library. January 4th is the middle school PTO meeting, 7 o'clock in the library at Charahoe Middle School. January 5th is the school committee budget workshop, 6 p.m. in the high school library. January 9th, Hope Valley School Improvement Team meeting, 5 to 6 p.m. in the Hope Valley Library, and Hope Valley School PTO meeting at 6:30 in the library as well.
So now we've come to school committee requests for future agenda items or legal opinions. So this is an opportunity for you to request that we place something on a future agenda item or we get a legal opinion. But if you are asking for a legal opinion on something, we need to make sure that the majority of the committee is in agreement with getting the legal opinion. So Donna?
I'm not sure what this is, and I almost hesitate to even bring it up, but I do agree with Mr. Phelps that we need to keep politics out of this committee, okay? And what I heard tonight was pretty disturbing. What I've read in the newspaper has been very disturbing, specifically in the Westerly Sun by someone who is here on our committee. The accusations that we are doing things that are.
Point of order, I apologize, Donna, but this is a request for future agenda items.
I'm getting there.
Get there, please.
Okay.
Chair's
If-
job.
I made a point of order to the chair.
Okay, all right. So I don't even know where I was, okay? So my concern is that if these accusations are happening in this committee publicly, that we get specific information if it's, or address it to the superintendent. We cannot just turn a blind eye to what is going on here. These accusations are unfounded and I want evidence. So I'm asking that we have a legal opinion as to what can we expect for evidence that these things are happening in our schools. Does that make sense?
That, I don't know how to put that on an agenda item. So maybe we can have a discussion.
I would
and we
love to
can-
have a
Okay,
discussion.
so why don't we have a discussion and we can maybe see if we can crystallize that a little bit so we can put that on a future agenda. I don't think we're there yet. So I'm
Okay.
gonna ask you to hold on that.
I am going to hold on it
Before
and I'm
we
going to
can
bring it back
crystallize
because
that.
I'm very disturbed about what I'm reading and what we're being accused of.
I understand. Yeah, other requests?
I don't know how to put it, but several parents I've talked to are in disarray with the amount of emails and notices. And I'm wondering if we can have a discussion about how to streamline information to parents. Like, I have 3 kids. I get triple the emails, and come October, November, a lot of parents stop reading them. And I'm getting them from Mr. Zenyan and Gina and now school committee emails, but that's besides the point. So, and there's a newsletter, but then the information from other emails isn't on that newsletter. So if
So maybe we can,
even my ex-husband and I agree on this, we're just as confused about what's going on, who's where, the schedules and everything. It's really.
okay, so maybe we can look at the method of communications that are coming and the different streams. And maybe we can have a discussion about that.
I can do a review of what, typically I know the principal sends a Friday update. And an email that comes beyond that is usually for something specific. That's, I know the high school has the new blog, so they typically put a lot of the communication on the blog. It's on Power School. But the future agenda item, I mean, we can go
Yeah.
through how we're typically doing communication.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And that way, if nothing else, it just lets everybody know, be on the lookout for these.
And please, community, like, bring ideas. I think all of us together can come up with some. It'd be nice if we had a Charahoe app, you know, but besides that, we're not going to do that. But something in centralized.
I don't disagree with you, Craig, that it is the prerogative of the chair. And at the same time, this is a new chair. And so I would just encourage equally that our requests for future agenda items are narrow to what the future agenda item is, and that we limit the conversation so as to allow the community to have the opportunity to participate in that conversation.
Okay. I'm trying to think of a way to succinctly put that on an agenda. So
Well, just
Is
keep
okay
it
if
up
we start
there.
with the review of what
Why don't we
current,
do
what
that
are the current
first?
communications in the
Yep.
district?
Right, let's do
Yeah,
that.
that's a good way to do it.
I think the key word you said was streamline.
But before I can streamline, I need to do sort of a review.
Again,
what we're talking
We're
about.
having a
We're now having the
conversation.
discussion.
Oh,
Right,
gotcha.
exactly.
Okay.
No, and to Andrew's point, and I appreciate the help, Andrew. The purpose of having a posted agenda is so we don't disenfranchise somebody and exclude somebody from a conversation unexpectedly. So I appreciate that. And that's why I'm kind of looking for clarification on things so that we make sure that everybody who wants to talk about those things has an opportunity to do that. So I appreciate it. And I'll tighten up on it as I get a little bit more seasoned.
Absolutely.
Are there any other agenda item requests? Nope. Tyler.
Hold your hand.
Yes.
Just for looking that way.
Tyler.
I think we need to discuss the status of the 1904 building at Ashway School. That's something at this time that I think this committee needs to get some type of idea of where we want to go and maybe reach out to the town council in Hopkinton.
Yep, because correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have any ownership of that building. That's all.
We do
Hopkinton
not.
now,
That's
right?
all
And that,
Hopkinton.
school committee directed me months back.
Here we go again. We're having a conversation. We're not.
I have to, but I have to know if I have to put it on an agenda item. Fine, we will include that on a future agenda item. That is a good one.
Just clarification, would we then have to reach out to the town council to invite?
Yes.
Okay.
Just to have that
Based on-
conversation with them. Yes.
We're all learning.
Very outside.
Craig, I'm done now.
I was just gonna ask.
You know what? We have a lawyer right here. John, do we have a say in the 1904 building?
Again.
But this is,
Oh,
yeah,
so
so
this
this
is
is
agenda
legal-
item.
Yeah, this is a legal opinion.
Respectfully, Chair, I would ask
Yeah,
you to
I-
instruct
gonna
the
answer the
attorney
question
not to
briefly.
take
The 1904 building belongs to the town of Hopkinton. It does not belong to the Charahoe Regional School District.
There you go.
All right, so on that note, are there any?
Madam Chair, I make a
Yeah,
motion to
please do.
adjourn.
Thank you.
I second that.
Fantastic. All those in favor? Thank you.
I don't have.
It was
No, I
it was
agree with
pretty
you
good
110%,
first thing.
but I
It was
think
okay
it's
up until.
in order